Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 72. Today I talk about strategizing with friends, cocky mindset, and fixing habits without frustration. Okay, I'm back, so you may recognize the setting. It's the same as yesterday, even though it's just a few minutes later. I'm going to try to record a ton of shows in a row here, so you might notice things are not changing very much. Maybe I'll take off my awesome Fanatic hoodie. Thank you, Fanatic. I got this when I was out there. I'm not even sure if they knew. They were just like, here's a bunch of stuff we don't want. By the way, I'm in Uvascula. I have some local lands and hand out gear that the team send as part of the marketing. Take a picture with me. We'll hashtag it Fanatic. So they have leftover stuff around. I take it and help distribute it in the Nordic lands. So if you're in Uvascula and you want some Fanatic or Team Solo Mid stuff, or what else do I have? That's mostly it. Yeah. Message me, get a hold of me on Twitter, and I'll hook you up. I think I basically just have wristbands and stickers and a couple t-shirts. Sorry, nothing big. It's got to fit in my luggage. So, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I think I have an esports shirt on underneath this. Maybe I'll try that for the next episode. Let's get into the show.
Anonymous asks, is Conor McGregor mindset a bad thing? Believing that you're better than everyone else and being cocky.
So what you're asking is Darshan's mindset a bad... No, just kidding. Sorry, Darshan. I actually talked about this in a recent interview with Riot Games France. So if you go to lolisport.fr, I think the write-up might be up soon. But the basic gist of it is no. You... in order to attain this level of performance, some part inside of you needs to be cocky enough to believe it and to apply it. And so whether or not then in public you are humble or cocky kind of depends on your social demeanor and how you're raised and how you put yourself out there. But internally, the mechanism of believing you're going to be able to be one of the best in the world is wired up in kind of a cocky way. You have to be able to kind of see that about yourself and believe that about yourself in order to achieve it. It's not an accident that happens. So then the question is is it okay or is it a good thing to put it out there as well? Or should you wait until you achieve something and then brag afterwards? I think that it really matters how much the person can take. So if they can say what they want to say and then either go deliver or not deliver and then just take the punches afterwards, then it's totally up to them. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. If you need that kind of drive, to put yourself out there, yourself on stage, then it's something that can actually be really good. I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss where he talked about how he motivated himself to lose weight by sending a picture of himself in underwear to a friend and saying if I don't lose X pounds by X day, put this out on the internet for everybody to see. So you could think of cocky mindset as a way of giving yourself a burning fire behind you that's going to scorch you if you don't keep up. And in that way, it can be very powerful for your motivation and for your training. So it's a tool, and you should see it as such when you're a fan, and also enjoy, ribbing people afterwards if they can't handle it. Make sure that they can handle it, because if they can't, they're just being cocky for no reason.
Joel asks, how should I approach my team to talk about improving and being taken more seriously?
So he goes on to talk about how other people on the team might be higher ranked than him, and he'll make these suggestions about things he can do, and then people just maybe go off and start queuing for a game or something afterwards instead of actually trying to apply yourself and improve. So this is a really good question. How would I go about doing that? I think you have to decide, are you a team member, a captain, or a coach? So you have a different kind of social role and social mechanism in each of those positions. As a coach, you can't really be friends with the team. You can be respected and be friendly with them, but you can't be friends with them because you have to sometimes require things of them that are difficult and push them in certain ways. As a captain, your main job is to be a role model and to lead people and to help people when they fall down. And as a team member, again, your job is a little bit different. It's kind of what role do you fulfill in the team dynamic? So if you want to be the coach, it might be a good idea to not be on the team. and not play with them in the first place. Because that way you can kind of set yourself aside and you can put in a lot of work outside the game that is I want to say relegated, but that's not a very good word to use in the League of Legends context. That is geared towards improving the team, and you can just do all of that work, and you don't have to worry about your own play anymore. If you want to be a team captain, so you want to play and also lead, then it helps to be really, really good. So you need to focus on your own training and kind of walk the walk. Team captains are usually lead from example, so you have to. There's like authoritarianly ascribed roles in a team where like it's top down, so like this is the captain and it was said by the coach, and then there's socially governed roles where like they earned the respect of their teammates and the captaincy because of the stuff that they did. So if you can walk the walk and talk the talk, in other words, if you can say this is how you get good, and then you can go do it and you can get good, then people will respect that, and then you can be a captain, you can lead them, right? So this is kind of like on your shoulders. If you can pull yourself up through the ranks and like prove that what you're doing works, and then people will be like, wow, can you show me how to do that? That's the path I would take. It's going to be a little bit more of a grind. It's going to be a longer road, but it's going to work more effectively. Then if you just want to be a team member and support them, like you're making suggestions, you're like, here's how you get better. I mean, you got to understand your friend's motivational mindset. So like, what are their aspirations? What do they want to get out of this? And speak to that, because it's not going to be the same thing as what you want out of it. So if you, sorry, that was my mic. If you go into it thinking like, I want you to get better so that my team wins, so I get what I want, then that's never going to work. You got to think about like, what do you want and how can you help them? And maybe they just want to have fun, queue for another game. They don't really want to get that much better. So then they're not going to do anything that you ask. So make sure your goals align, or at least understand what their goals are. So when you're asking them, you can reinforce them.
Francis asks, how do we tell the difference between mentally noting an area that needs improvement and beating ourselves up or being too hard on ourselves?
Really good question, Francis. And that's something that I struggle with myself. So I think the main difference is the emotional component. If you can still be like yourself and recognize that you have areas to improve, that's a pretty healthy place. On the other hand, beating yourself up and being too hard on yourself is how a lot of people get to be world class at what they do. So you kind of have to decide, well, do I want to be a more well-balanced, happy person, or do I want to be a little bit more unhappy and dissatisfied all the time in order to achieve kind of a greater level of performance or a more rapid level of growth? And really that comes down to how much you think you can take. So when you say being too hard on ourselves, define too hard. Is there a point at which it's too much for you to handle and you end up like quitting playing the game or quitting doing it because you're being so hard on yourself? That is a line that you have to like dial back on. Or you have to improve your tolerance levels and be just as hard on yourself. So there's a lot of answers to this question, depending on whether you're looking for mental health, whether you're looking for like excellent growth, or whether you're looking for mental toughness. And the answers are different for each of those. So I would say like, if you have something you really want and you feel like you want to push yourself for it, then focus a lot on steps that you can take to get better, and take the negative, like beating up on yourself for frustration, and turn it into motivation to do those steps. Like be like, okay, that sucked, and clearly I'm not very good at that, so let me get good at it. And really focus on the fact that like you can transition frustration and that negative kind of outlook on your own skill into applying yourself in a progressive way to get better. And that makes it healthy. That gives you an outlet that's good, instead of being like, oh, I suck, turn on 6 hours of Breaking Bad, quit that, log into solo queue again the next day and be like, oh, I suck still, and then go off and like, do something else behind the building, whatever. Go drink it off or whatever. So there's like negative ways and positive ways of coping with that frustration. The frustration in itself isn't really necessarily that bad unless you can't turn it into, progression. And I think that you'll see that among a lot of pros. Like they'll lose a game and they'll be really, really, really hard on themselves, and they'll turn it into 8 hours of solo queue of higher quality than they've ever done before, right? Instead of like frustration and logging off and going and watching manga until they feel relaxed. So yeah, good luck. All right, that's the show for the day. And I have a question for everybody. If you could answer in the comments below, whether this is on Facebook or YouTube, I'll try to dive into them. I have an app on my phone now where I can kind of just like pull them up and go through them throughout the day when I'm on the bus or whatever. So here's the question. Going off of what Yoel was worried about, like what is your approach for getting taken more seriously by your friends? What is it? Do you have a mode that you shift to that you found productive when you want to like go from a friend relationship to being like, I want to give you advice now? Because this is something I'm worrying about or wondering about as well for people in my life who I want to talk to in that way. And don't forget to ask your own question. Use the hashtag AskWeldon on Twitter. Ciao.